Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Hi, this is Brian Carpenter from One Worcester Homes. We're excited to offer the strongest buyer and seller representation throughout Worcester County and all the surrounding areas. Our agents are trained better and will look out for your best interest throughout the entire transaction. To reach out to One Worcester Homes, simply find us on Facebook, type in One Worcester Homes. We look forward to the opportunity to help you and your family in your home buying or selling transaction. And don't forget to join us the fourth Saturday of every month at 7:30 on Handling Change.
The following is a paid program. The opinions are those of the host and guests, and not necessarily those of the station or its management.
This is the Joe Mangicotti Show. Our topics are large and small. When you really need to know, we are the show. You want to know, it's time to talk to Joe.
All right. Hey, good morning, everyone. I am Joe Mangicotti. Welcome to the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangicotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. And, of course, our sister station out there in the western part of Massachusetts, AM 730 WACE. Good morning, Cam.
Good morning.
How are you, sir? You look a little more awake and bushy. Is it because of Super Bowl Sunday, or what are you a little...
I don't know. I'm not sure what the explanation is there.
All right, well, happy Super Bowl Sunday. And I think you said you didn't. I didn't talk to you. Let me guess, 49ers.
As to who I'm going with?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who I'm going with.
Okay, all right, figured that.
Just like the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be our rival the next few years.
Think
I'd like
so?
to see, I'd like to see the 49ers get it instead. Okay,
and kind of weird not having the Patriots in it, right? You get used to that after a little while, and you kind of like it, and you want it. It's another big day today, too, by the way. Do you know what else is going on?
Not sure.
The procrastinator of procrastinators. Punxsutawney Phil, Groundhog Day.
I did hear about that,
Okay,
actually.
so that's going to... Remember the movie? Did you see that, right?
With Bill Murray?
Bill Murray, right. So the thing about that is so he's going to come out. If he sees his shadow, we get 4 more years of attempted impeachments on Trump. And that's what we're going to... So we have to see what he has to say. Back to the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 54. And, yesterday on Out with Joe, we covered a lot of factoids about that. What I always find interesting is the commercials on it. Do you have your favorite ones? Everybody has, right? A lot of the Budweiser ones, the ones with the Clydesdales are always... fantastic.
Yeah, the big beer companies always go all out on the Super Bowl.
And actually, I was at dinner last night, and we were debating them, and it was pretty much the consensus that as long as they have animals in them, they're pretty good. And I'd love to get Teddy a gig in a commercial. I mean, he did a commercial for Clinton Savings Bank, though. So he did, but Super Bowl would be awesome if he could do a Super Bowl commercial. I think one of my favorite is the trainer. He's on the farm. He gets the Clydesdale, as I don't know what's the proper word for a horse that's a child. Is there one? But he gets it, as a youngin, trains it, raises it. The Budweiser van comes, trucks, takes him away to be a Clydesdale. It's later on in life, and he's reading the paper. It says, Clydesdale coming to Chicago. So he goes down. The Clydesdale bear trailer goes by, and the horse looks over and recognizes him. And then as they're putting him away after the parade, he breaks away, and he goes charging down the road. And the trainer doesn't realize it's the horse yet, but he gets out of the truck like, whoa, boy. And then all of a sudden he realizes, hey, this is the same one. And they kind of hug. That's a great one. So a lot of great commercials. But here's the thing about it, folks, right? The first Super Bowl was played in January of 1967. And at that time, a television commercial cost advertisers $40,000. That's a lot of money in 1967. I mean, that's a lot of money in 1967, right? I mean, you figure, oh my goodness, if you made $40,000 a year back then, that would be like making $300,000 today. It's a lot of money. So CBS broadcast the Super Bowl last year for Super Bowl 53, And they charged the advertisers, and it was a record last year, $5.25 million for a 30-second commercial, and that's roughly $175,000 a second. That's a heck of a budget, huh? All right, well, the game's going to be played between the Chiefs, as we said, and the San Francisco 49ers. This will be the first time, Cam, that the two teams have met in the Super Bowl. Did you know that?
I did not.
And it's also the Super Bowl's appearance for the Chiefs in 50 years. And the last time the Kansas City made it this far was back in 1970. And the Chiefs topped the Minnesota Vikings in Super Bowl IV for their first and only Lombardi Trophy. Not bad, right? The 49ers' seventh Super Bowl appearance. San Francisco went to 5 Super Bowls between 81 and 94, and they won all 5 of them, by the way. Then returned to the big game back in 2012 when they lost to the Baltimore Ravens. And the Niners win Super Bowl 54, I should say if the Niners win Super Bowl 54, they will tie New England Patriots and Pittsburgh Steelers, by the way, for the most Super Bowl victories, and that is how many? 6. You got it. And believe it or not, this is actually the first time that Super Bowl will feature 2 teams with red as the primary uniform color. So the Chiefs, they'll be rocking their traditional home red jersey, and they'll have white pants on, and the 49ers, they're going to wear the standard white away jerseys with gold pants. So that's what you'll see on the field today. And it will also mark the culmination of the NFL's 100th season. The league's first ever Super Bowl also featured the Chiefs, who lost to the Green Bay Packers way back in '67. And no matter who wins Super Bowl 54, Joe Montana, guy's still out there cranking, right? Still has all his hair. He's still looking good, right? Well, Joe Montana will be celebrating because that legendary quarterback made sure that he pointed out this week, Cam, that he played for both this year's finalists. Though all 4 of his rings came from the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, that's his main team you think of.
So they're talking about could be some rainy conditions today. So it's possible that they could be playing, in tough weather. Let's see, scattered thunderstorms and perhaps some evening showers. If wet weather were to benefit anyone, it would probably be the Niners, who are more likely to prefer a conservative ground-based strategy. So that's what the word on the street is there. Okay? All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Again, that's 508-871-7000 to get into the studio for two-way talk and conversation from the Clinton Savings Bank studios. You can also text us on our text line, which is 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. And it appears on a screen, real time, so we can respond to you, either text you back or respond to you on air. And if you can't text, but you do have a device, you can email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. It appears on the same screen. Pretty cool how that works out. All right, so that's kind of the 411, so get that kind of squared away. Coming up in hour 2, okay? So hour 2, we're going to have Tracy LaVaughn. Tracy LaVaughn was a candidate for Congress back 2 years ago when she ran for the seat now occupied by James McGovern. And she's going to do it again. You know, she was on a couple months ago just to come on and commentate on what's happening and what's going on. And she kind of announced that she was going to seek re-election. We were chatting the other day, and I said, why don't you come back in Sunday morning? Let's chat a little bit about your platform, your strategy, and what's going on. Meanwhile, you can go to LaVaughn for Congress or Tracy LaVaughn for Congress. We'll get into the details there. She's on Facebook. She does commentate and post on a regular basis, so you can follow her on Facebook and social media and see what's going on there. And she did point out to me that the donation button does work on her site, so that's good for you to know that. And she'd like everybody to know that. So that's hour 2 today, and that will be coming up. Also, we'll have a handling change at 6:30, but at 7:30 today, folks, we debut the case files of the LPDAM. And the LPDAM is the Licensed Private Detective Association of Massachusetts. I am a member of that, and actually I sit on the board, but they will be joining us weekly for a few minutes, and they'll be sharing some great cases, right? There's some awesome stories from the collective of investigators here in the Commonwealth over the years. Honestly, I've heard a lot of these stories. A lot of them we probably can't share on the air, but a lot of them are going to be fun to share on the air. We'll also be talking about the law that was applied in those cases or the laws that we needed to deal with as investigators around those cases. We'll talk about the industry itself and how it's changed and what it's like today. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry today, and one of the things that the LPDAM is going to deal with, or is dealing with, I should say, is shaking off the Hollywood perception a little bit. When you think of a private detective or private investigator, Cam, what's the image that you get? You know,
you get like the guy in the car sitting there. It's almost like in a stakeout, or you get the coat with the binoculars,
the disheveled guy. The disgraced former cop, or the guy with 3 divorces and fighting alcoholism, and whatever.
He was too hot for the police force.
right.
So he's had to take a back seat.
Yeah, he punched out the lieutenant or something. And that's Hollywood's perception. I mean, Jim Rockford, right? James Gardner played James Rockford in the 70s. Huge fan of the show. I think it was one of the reasons, I gravitated to being a PI. I know he was supposed to be, but when you're a little kid and you're watching this and, they're supposed to be portraying him as not that successful. But when you're a little kid, Cam, living on a trailer right on the beach, driving a sports car Camaro, seemed like a really good gig to me at 5 years old. I thought I was like, hey, I love that. But so the image Hollywood and TV has put forth for the investigator isn't what it is. And it's actually considered a legal skill and part of the legal profession because majority of the work, there's the insurance work and stuff like that, but a lot of the work is working on defense cases or even just legal cases and working for attorneys on behalf of attorneys, meaning that privilege is extended to investigators. We're treated as counsels if we go into the prisons or jails, things of that nature. And it's doing the interviews and the gathering that, you're an independent third party, disinterested person that's just gathering the facts, gathering the interviews that helps formulate the case. So the LPDAM will be shattering the Hollywood image of the investigator, and they're going to try to do that every week at 7:30 on Sunday with a little vignette about the industry. And today we'll be joined by Sean Burke, who is the current president of the LPDAM, and he's the resident manager. And that's the term that's applied to the principal or the license holder of an agency. So you could have an agency with multiple investigators, some are licensed, some may not be actually licensed, but they're working under the licensed detective. But there has to be one license of record for the agency, and that's called the resident manager. So he's the resident manager for Courtside Investigation, and he's the president of Licensed Private Detective Association of Massachusetts, and he'll join us at 7:30 for the debut of that. All right. We talked a little bit yesterday about what's going on with the impeachment situation. We've got Iowa kicking off tomorrow, and next Tuesday, I think the 10th, right? Trump is in New Hampshire with the rally. We should talk to Keith Lambert at some point today, and Keith is the guy behind New England for Trump stores, which you've heard it here on the air here, and you've heard Keith here before. 5 locations. I was talking to him the other day. He went down to the New Jersey rally. That was crazy. Kim, did you see that on the news, man? 150,000 people tried to get tickets, wanted to get into this rally. And you superpose that, right? You've got 150,000 people standing in like cattle canals that they have, the channels, waiting to get in, all very calm and organized, wonderful people. He killed it down there. He had a pop-up tent down there, and he just barely could keep the stuff out the door fast enough. And then and I don't know who, I think Fox put it up against Biden. And Biden couldn't fill the rec room in the retirement home type of thing. And Biden thinks what he said, he doesn't want to face me because I'll beat him like a drum. I would even consider paying to see Donald Trump and Joe Biden on a debate stage. 508-871-7000 lines are open and available. So, look, the rally's coming Tuesday, Iowa caucuses tomorrow, Super Bowl obviously today. I mean, there's a lot going on. And then the vote, they're looking to wrap this up with acquittal on Wednesday. So it's going to be crazy, and they're talking in the State of the Union. That's the other thing. This is a busy time. And to see these two things, I mean, even over the last couple of weeks, while they're doing, let's think about this for a minute, right? In the contrast that we watched. We watched the votes going and the vote nay on having more witnesses, in other words, having the jury do the job of the prosecutor. We watched that go down. Well, Trump was at a rally in New Jersey with tens of thousands of people inside and having a party like all his rallies are. You juxtapose that to Nancy Pelosi spending, I put it there, I think it was $35,000 in pens, right, to sign. Yeah, this is it. Pelosi uses, $15,000 worth of bullet pens to impeach the president, and Trump uses a $1.99 Sharpie to sign a $2 billion trade deal with China. Right, folks? That's the difference between a businessman and a worthless professional politician. It really is. I mean, doesn't that sum it up right there? So $15,000 for those pens with her signature embossed in gold on it. So that, you're looking at this thing, these things going on, and the president is continuing to do things that are fantastic for the nation and fantastic for this country, the worker, the blue-collar worker, the highest, or the wages that are growing the fastest is that of the lower echelon, the blue-collar worker. Those wages on the bottom tier are actually the fastest-growing wages in this economy. And yesterday, I had mentioned something, and I'm going to do it again because it absolutely deserves to be mentioned again. And that is that the support from the black community for Donald Trump has basically doubled. A year ago, it was 21%, which was great, by the way, because it was into the 20s a year ago. But according to the Rasmussen poll out a couple days ago, black support for Trump has actually doubled to 42%, and this is historic. Democrats should be very worried about that. No Republican has achieved this level of support before. A year ago, 2 years ago, I was telling you, I'm saying it, I'm telling you right now, this is so huge because, and like I said a year or two ago, man, if he just moves it a few points and takes a little bit of the black support from the programmed Democrats or the Democrats programming the black community to think that, Republicans are not, first of all, are racist, second of all, want to crush you under our boots and aren't out for the little guy whatsoever, they're waking up because you've got the Candace Owens of the world out there, and you've got Kanye West out there. You've got even the founder of Black Lives Matter saying that Hillary Clinton just uses the black vote but has done nothing for the black community. And I think that the community as a whole has been waking up to this fact, and then they see not just unemployment low, record low, 60-year low across the board, but they're seeing the lowest unemployment for black America ever, for women ever, for Latinos ever. And they're getting it. And they're listening to what the man is saying. His actions prove He's one of the furthest things from a racist. And I know that's a moniker they like to put on it, and people who are superficial observers of news and watch the liberal media and the MSN and the mainstream media, and then the CNN and NBC, MSNBCs of the world and the NBCs of the world. Look, they know it. They see it because they see what is happening. Look what he's done with crime reform and sentence reform. Politicians have talked about this stuff over and over again, but Donald Trump is the only one that has actually done stuff about it. And they see this, all right? And they see this. And it's making a difference, and it shows in the numbers, man. The Rasmussen poll, 42%. Unbelievable. Then you've got, the candidates on, what does it come down to? Basically, the two front runners are old white men, right? Old white men that we're told the Democratic Party hate the old white men, and that's all that they try to image or position Republicans are, old white rich men. And Bernie Sanders, right? Billionaires and millionaires. Bernie Sanders spent $342,000 in private jet travel in the last 2 years. And how did he, make all of this money to fund this? He did it by lecturing Americans on income inequality and climate change, right? And then he wrote a book. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The other thing in the news, by the way, Brexit is complete. And this is really a serious blow to the globalist cartel and those that wish harm to America and freedom everywhere. So it's a triumphant time now because, it took them a long time. They started this process a long time ago. All right. We do have, let's go to the phones, 508-871-7000. We'll go to Lee in Waltham for our first call of the Sunday edition. Hey, Lee, good morning. Happy Super Bowl Sunday to you, man.
Good morning to you. I guess I'm getting up earlier on the weekends. I don't know. I must be sick. I'm not sure.
Well, you have something to get up to, Lee, right?
I absolutely. I mean, I watched. Like I said, I watched the procedures and stuff. But there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention. And this is pretty interesting too. And again, this is going to tie into what I was going to say for the second part. The expenditure of taxpayer money that we send to the government, it provides illegal aliens, money, okay? What is this doing to us as people? We have to pay our taxes, but why do we give money to illegal aliens? And nobody ever says anything about this. I mean, I know we do. We mention it on the talk shows, but within the Congress itself, the money that goes, where is it that somebody like any of the Republicans, I'm not going to mention names because I don't know how they really believe because I never hear them say anything about it. But what would they say?
Well, I got to tell you something. The biggest problem there, Lee, is that the members of Congress, and they may not believe this or think this when they go in, right? I'm talking about some of these mavericks that win these seats, and the Tea Party people have won the seats, and they don't think about it. But when they get there, they get into that same, and I don't know how, it's just kind of, I think, you flock together, and they lose the fact that this is not their money, and the government's money isn't the government's money. The government's money is the people's money, and they act like it's their money to do with what they wish and however they wish to do it. And they lost the respect of the money because they lost the respect of the constituency. And they don't care really about that. And I've said this before, and I'm going to share this again right now, is think about this, Lee, man. When our children are born and our children's children are born, and they're born basically into slavery because you're being saddled with the debt, the multi-trillion-dollar debt that we have, and you're telling your children and your grandchildren and your grandchildren's grandchildren that you're born in this country. It's your responsibility to grow up, get a job, work hard so that you can take care of somebody who's being born half a world away, that's going to illegally enter the sovereign nation that you live in and expect to have your tax dollars support them with housing, medication or medical care, and food stamps, and free tuition, and all of this that you, for some reason, your birth obligation is to take care of this other person that may not even have been born yet.
Well, not only that, okay, you're paying for some politicians' money, okay, to run for that particular office that are going to support those people that are coming in. I think they call that conflict of interest if it were you or I doing something like that.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Lee, you're welcome to hold, but we're at 6. I need to take a break. And you're welcome to hold on the phone. You're great with that. All right, folks, we're going to come back to Lee and other phone calls at 508-871-7000 here on the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Clinton Savings Bank Studios.
This is Sean Burke, president of the Licensed Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts, asking you to visit us at lpdam.org when you think you need a private investigator. Don't let your emotions negatively affect your future. Get your answers through a Massachusetts licensed private investigator. Get the facts without risking your credibility by unknowingly committing a criminal offense. You need a license to perform investigations in Massachusetts. What are some types of work that requires a license? Any type of surveillance, interviewing someone for a third party, background and asset checks are just a few examples. For more on this, visit us at lpdm.org and tune into AM 830 WCRN Sunday mornings at 7:30 for case files from the LPDM or anytime at lpdmcasefiles.com.
Good morning and welcome to Handle and Change from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and Paul Cantiani Jr. of the Cantiani Agency joins us this week. Protecting your home, autos, business, and possessions can be challenging, and Paul can help you handle those challenges. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
I'm great. Let's get into this. One of the things that I think we should talk about is getting into an accident. We're in New England. We have a tough weather, snow, slick roads sometimes, and, well, let's face it, some crazy drivers. So,
all over the place. It's nuts out there.
So when you do get in an accident, you're going to contact your insurance agent and so forth. But even before that point, what is it that you should make sure you have in terms of coverage? So when you're putting the car on the road, is there going to be a big difference between a financed car, a non-financed car, a brand new car, a 10-year-old clunker? Give us kind of the overview of what you're looking at when you're going to insure it in the first place.
For sure. So a financed vehicle requires collision coverage. Collision coverage is used if you're involved in an accident and you're found over 50% at fault. You'll only pay a deductible, which the standard deductibles are $1,000 or $500. Without that coverage, the damage to your vehicle can be compromised with the payout. You would have to go directly through the other insurance company that was involved, and it can kind of be a hassle, to be honest. A lot of the times you can't collect the full damages to your car at that point.
So that means you could be paying out of pocket at that point. Now, what is the gap insurance that we hear so much about? How does that work, Paul?
Gap insurance generally is used for vehicles that are newer, within about 5 years. And what it does is when you drive off the lot in a newer vehicle, the value of that vehicle automatically depreciates. God forbid you drive it down the road and total it. Gap insurance will make sure that that loan is paid off. Because with that depreciated value, if you owe $20,000 on the vehicle, the insurance company might only pay $15,000 towards that vehicle. The gap insurer would pay the difference of the $5,000 to make sure you can pay that.
How are the insurance companies determining the value of the vehicle? Is it going to be the retail value that you go in and you buy the car off the lot, or are they going to go by Blue Book or wholesale? How are they figuring that number out, and do you need to take whatever they offer you?
So generally, they will look at comparable vehicles. They look at mileage, vehicles that are for sale in that area with similar options to the vehicles. That's how they base their value that they offer you on a total loss settlement. You absolutely do not have to take their settlement value. They They will take receipts if you recently put tires on the vehicle or had it serviced. Aftermarket things, sometimes they can offer a higher value on. It's not something that's set in stone. It can be worked out with the insurance company.
Well, Paul, let me ask you this, because I think sometimes even, when the person, jesters, I guess you'd call them adjusters, first look at the vehicle, it can actually end up costing a lot more than they originally say. What's that price?
So usually the insurance company will value the damage a little lower than body shops 90% of the time. The way that works is once the vehicle goes in the body shop will do their own estimate on the vehicle. If, say, the insurance company's estimate was $2,000 and the body shop was $4,000, they work it out together, and that difference on that estimate is called a supplement. The body shop will request a supplement from the insurance company, and they work it out together, and 99% of the time it works out okay.
And about where you take the vehicle, is that assigned by the insurance company? Can you take it to your brother-in-law's garage? Is there other limitations? How does that work?
You have the option of where you bring the vehicle. There are what's called preferred body shops with insurance companies. Those shops vary between different insurance companies. They have connected software systems that streamline a few things through the repair process, but you have the option to go to anyone you'd like.
So you can pick the body shop you want, but would you recommend going to these preferred shops? Is it advantageous to the insurance company, or is it advantageous to the client?
It makes the process easier to go to the preferred shop. There's better communication with the repair, rental car coverage. It is a lot easier when it comes down to it, but not saying that your local shop you've used for years isn't able to do that as well.
Fantastic. All right, well, there's a lot to it, but of course, your agent can always answer questions about the type of coverage you should have and how to handle an accident. The person to talk to, right, is you.
That's what we do. That's what we get paid for. We love to do it. Definitely consult with your direct company or your agent when you're buying a new vehicle. Make sure you have everything you need. Take the time to go over it. It's going to make all the difference if, God forbid, there's an incident.
All right, fantastic. Paul, thank you for stopping by today.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us for Handling Change from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. Join us each week at 7:30 as we give you the tools to handle the changes in your life. You can find Paul Cantiani Insurance online at CantianiAgency.com or give them a call at 508-791-2088. For Paul, I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
Okay, folks, welcome back to segment 2 of the first hour of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Sunday from the Clinton Savings Bank Studios. 508-871-7000. To join the conversation, text us on a text line at 617-297-8388. And if you can't text but you do have a device, just simply email us at textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. It appears on the same screen. Pretty cool how that happens, right? 508-871-7000. Before I go to the phones real quick, I want to point out that the Boston Broadside February 2020 edition is now out and available. We do have copies at the station if you wanted to pick up. You can also go check out where you can find it. They are complimentary at a lot of stores scattered throughout New England, or go online and check them out. It is, well, you can call them, by the way, too. There's no problem. You can call 978-352-6800. Again, that's 978-352-6800, or visit them at broadside.com. And I got to tell you, we have this one-party state, and it's created a one-party media. And while the people need our needs, our voice, it's ignored. And the Boston Broadside is the answer to a lot of that. And so I do have a copy of the February edition of the Broadside in front of me. And what's interesting, and Lonnie, the publisher, right? Lonnie, he's a great guy. Matter of fact, I was with him last night. But you can check this out. Like, he does this great thing on the back page. And he takes, and I didn't know this till last night, to tell you the truth, folks, but I think it's great. He listens and he records my show, Howie Carr, Jeff Cooner, Larry Novak, right, Holly Robichaud. And he will take a portion of our monologues, or maybe something that we have to say on an issue, an argument, and transcribes it and puts it in the paper. And I'm looking in the February edition, and there I am, where he pulled one of my monologues on the vaping and the analogy I made to that and gun control. And it's the the bad eggs in the vaping industry that has ruined it for the 20-plus years of the law-abiding, perfectly legal vaping companies and what it did to them. But check out Boston Broadside, again, at broadside.com, or give Lonnie a call and tell him you want to get a copy of the paper. And you can do that, again, at 978-352-6800. Go check it out, Boston Broadside. Lee, we were talking, and we had a break there, and you had another point you wanted to make. So, the floor is yours.
I just did. I mean, you know that I always like to talk about how bad the way our culture is going in terms of values and whatnot,
Yep.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And now, the four people that voted against Amy Klobuchar, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth, and Joe Biden, all that.
Mm-hmm.
They voted to get those people in, and they were part of the voting against Trump. But yet at the same time, there's a conflict of interest there because they're running, okay, for the presidency. Now, let that be as it is, but what I'm trying to say is that nobody today actually looks at what the value, what the truth is, what the Constitution is about. That's conflict of interest. Just like we talked about when Scull was sitting on the board, okay? When Romney's sitting on the board in Burisma, he can't be an independent because he's got to be thinking of himself. Same thing with these four people. They shouldn't have voted in that. They should have accused themselves. And even though they may not have won, they didn't win anyways, they would at least look better. And this is the problem. They don't even care to look better anymore.
No. Lee, look, 100%, man. And I said this, same thing, when we were going into this, because we had, 6 senators, a couple people dropped out of the race, but we had 4 active senators still running for president, going to sit on the jury, as well as the other people who dropped out of the race, and I still count them as a conflict of interest, asking them to judge the guy whose job they want, the guy who they have been very vocal and open about wanting out of that job. It was incredibly bias and a conflict of interest, and I think that those senators all should have recused themselves from the proceeding because of that conflict of interest. The rest of it is, you say, well, all the Democrats are very biased. They all spoke ill of the president. They've all wanted to say, I agree. They all, so many of these senators who are judging and members of the House have been saying for 3 years, we need to impeach him. We don't know why we want it. We just don't. We got to impeach him because we don't like him. We know we can't win. We can't legitimately win against him in the ballot box in 2020, so we have to try to hurt him, or we have to try to remove him before we allow the people to do the voting. We don't want you to interfere with the 2020 election, Lee. How dare you go vote for the person you want? That's not who we want.
Well, it's like they said. They're very afraid that the people in the country are going to interfere with the next election.
Exactly. Talk about your interference with an election. Who's going to interfere with it? The citizens.
And the other thing I wanted to mention this along this line was the guest you had yesterday, and we're talking about sanctuary cities. If these people are considered to be illegal, I think the federal government has every right to cut off funds to the states, okay, that do that. Mm-hmm. And if it's only one city less, like Los Angeles, well, I would just say, well, too bad, California. Mm-hmm. You guys better straighten it out in your own government there.
It's almost like corruption in a foreign nation, right? This whole thing with Ukraine. Look at Trump said, "Hey, how's your corruption going over there? I want to make sure that we're not giving you billions of dollars and it's corrupt." As a matter of fact, even Trump got in trouble for saying, "Hey, all this money was sent down to Puerto Rico. What's going to happen?" What happened? Right? They found warehouses full of emergency stuff that wasn't distributed, and we found a couple officials in Puerto Rico got arrested, right, and indicted now for embezzling the relief money. So what's the difference in saying to the Californians of the world, hey, the federal money that taxpayers are sending to you are being used illegally. Therefore, that's corruption. You're diverting funds to illegal aliens who aren't citizens. That's not what it's meant for, and that's not what people write a check to us for every year or every paycheck out of their paycheck to do this. So you know what? We're not sending you that money anymore. I'm perfectly fine with that.
they're
perfectly
doing it
fine
for
with
their
that.
own benefit, though.
Absolutely.
But they're doing it for their own benefit. It's like the woman that was elected to the Boston Council, and she got up and spoke in Spanish and told everybody, well, we're here and we're staying here. Okay? There's no reason why the federal government can't say, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you want senators to get you that money to come back, then you better start voting for senators that represent the people in your state
and you better
represent the values of our country.
Absolutely. All right, I got full lines.
Thanks.
I've got to run here because I got to move on. Lee, thank you so much. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go, Rich in New Hampshire, who's been waiting very patiently. Good morning, Rich, and happy Super Bowl Sunday to you, man.
Hey, good morning, Joe. Yeah, I'm an NFL fan, but with Pelosi coming from San Francisco, I can't vote. I can't back him up. Put it that way. So I got to root for Kansas City, believe it or not, because I can't see her on TV parading around. Yeah, seriously, I mean, think about it.
No, I get it. I get it. It's I know. I get what you're saying.
I can't bring myself to that point. But the other thing, when Lee first started off, right, talking about taxes and stuff like that, all right, I'm gonna say two things real quick, because that's not what I called up about. Because I told you a long time ago, you want to know something about taxes, call me off the air and I'll explain some stuff to you. But anyways, I don't know if you remember when we used to get that little booklet there from the government all the time, on taxes. If you made X amount, you had deductions X amount, and this is what you paid. You remember that little booklet?
Yeah, I do. I mean,
before your time?
I think it was, but I remember many years ago seeing booklets like that. I don't know if I ever used it.
Yeah, you got to go get them at the library now if you want them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of mailmen, there's over 60,000 mailmen who don't pay income tax, and they don't want to pass them out anymore, and they don't pass out the letters either. So
there's a story the other day I saw about they found a storage unit filled with people's mail that the carrier had a storage unit, and he said, "Oh, that's all the mail. I just didn't have the time to deliver."
Yeah, I've seen that.
If you go back to remember the Seinfeld show, Newman.
Yeah, the Seinfeld one.
Newman, right? Newman used to do that. His apartment was loaded with bags of mail. Yeah, that was great.
All right, but anyway, in that thing there, right? Every year when they pass that out, Joe, right? They had the Privacy Act notice, and before that, they always had the IRS commissioner. They would say, "Welcome to the greatest voluntary system in the world." Okay, I know between you and me, but voluntary means voluntary. Okay, but now I got information from Mertens, MERTENS, and these this is documents from the Department of Justice now. All right, this is their stuff, and you can't get it. You can't get a hold of it, but I get a hold of that stuff. Okay, and in there it says, now this is the history of the income tax. All right, and in there it states, this is the greatest voluntary system in the world. Even the DOJ says that. All right. So I just want to let you know that there are two places where they tell us that the income tax is voluntary.
Yeah, put that through the test.
Why am I not to believe them?
Yeah, put that through the test. Decide not to pay. Let me know how that works out. I'll send money to put on your books at federal prison.
Right, but that's not what I called up about. But I just figured Lee mentioned tax, so I figured. But anytime you want to know something about that, hey, give me a call off the air and I'll explain the whole thing to you.
Sure.
But the thing is, right now, what I was listening to, with this, is Ken Starr.
Okay.
Did you hear him when he was talking?
I heard a little bit of him. I didn't hear his whole thing, so you tell me what part got you. Because I heard little bits of him.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you real quick. When Clinton ran for president, I'm an independent, and me and my wife, what we did, we crossed over and, signed up for Democrats, and me and my wife, we wrote in Ken Starr.
Excellent.
I thought it was kind of funny that me and my wife would go do that, but we did. But anyways, the thing is, what he was talking about, I was sitting there and I'm listening to his speech, and he came out with due process of law. I said, "Oh, great!" I said, "Now I'm going to find somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about, right?" But he went on a little bit further, Joe, and then he says due process, and then he went on a little bit further after that, a couple of minutes after that, and he said due process. Now I mentioned this, I know it was about 2-3 months ago. Due process means nothing. It's BS, right? But due process of law, which nobody wants to talk about, but I thought, I said, oh, man, I got an honest guy here. And due process of law means law of the land, all right? In other words, it's Article 3, Section 1 and 2 of the Constitution.
Right.
All right, that's what due process means. But none of them want to talk about that. And I'm just saying to myself, why would they not want to mention due process of law? Because, first of all, law, all right? Law means that it belongs to you, me, and anyone else that's out there. If you know something and you want to be a lawyer, Joe, you could be a lawyer.
Yep.
I can be a lawyer.
Yep.
But an attorney, we can't be.
Right.
Because an attorney, what you have to do is you have to go to school, and then you get your bar card.
Right.
None of them have a license.
Right. And people don't realize sometimes that they're actually a lawyer. If you have power of attorney issued to you, right, you are actually that person's lawyer for that specific scope of that. And you know, it's an interesting thing. I even watched or witnessed a paralegal, because I had an attorney saying to the paralegal, "Hey, you know, type this up. You know, you're assigning power of attorney to Joe for this person," and she's like, "Oh, but she's like, Joe's not an attorney, right? He's a private investigator." And he goes, "No, it's power of attorney. He's going to be this person's attorney." And even the paralegal wasn't getting it. So a lot of you, if you're out there and you have the power of attorney for somebody, you are an attorney in that capacity. Not a lawyer.
Well, you're a lawyer.
Excuse me, a lawyer.
A lawyer.
I just switched those. You're a lawyer, not an attorney. You're not a member of the bar. You can't go practice. But yes, that's how that works. It's pretty cool.
Because an attorney, what you do is you have a bar card, whether you have a Massachusetts bar card or you have an American bar card, and you belong to that association. An attorney, there are officers of the court. Now, you got to stop and realize this here, people. You know, when they say when you represent yourself, you have a, you know, what is it, a clown? But anyways, the thing is, you have a fool.
A fool for an attorney. Yeah, a person who represents themselves. It has a fool for an attorney. That's the old saying. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's how it's said. But the thing is, right, what you have to understand now, people, attorneys, first of all, their first duty is for a court. They have to represent the court.
For those of you that, can you hear that, Rich? I'm sorry, that's Teddy. Tracy Laverne has just come into the studio, and Teddy loves Tracy, so I apologize for the barking in the background.
That's fine.
that's what that's about,
But
folks.
the second thing is, Joe, all right, an attorney, when you go to court, his second duty is to earn money, not only for himself, but for the court. And then the third person that he represents is you. So what do you think your chances are of winning, Joe?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's a good point. And you know, the thing is, the LPDAM case files is debuting at 7:30, and that's actually one of the things we're going to talk. And Sean Burke has actually written a book based on case law. And we're going to get into it at future vignettes on that. But it is quite interesting because, and Sean also worked in the courts for years, so he brings this great perspective, and I think that you're going to enjoy the stuff that he has to say.
I'll be listening because, like I said, Ken Starr, I always said to myself, oh, wow, okay, when he first started his speech, I said, when he said due process to the law, I said, okay, now I'm going to hear an honest guy. But then after that, he switched over to, due process. I'm saying that has nothing to do with the law. It's all BS.
Right.
Because that doesn't pertain to you and me, Joe.
Right.
Due process.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'll let you go.
Yeah, I got to go. I got tons of lines here. All right, thank you very much,
Kansas
Richard.
City.
Go Kansas City. That's right. All right, 508-871-7000 from the Clinton Savings Bank Studios. Ken, thank you for waiting patiently. Sorry about that. Lines are just jammed this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Colonel Joe. Lieutenant Ken reporting. I'd like to inform your listeners, and if you're not familiar with the top podcast in the nation, Verdict with Ted Cruz, and it tells quite a story day by day as to what was happening in the Senate trial.
Huh.
And
say again, what's the name of the podcast?
Verdict with Ted Cruz. And Michael Knowles hosts it of Daily Wire.
Got it. Okay.
And the last episode that they, it's actually posted as February 1st, but they did it Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
They also included Lindsey Graham, and it is quite insightful. So literally, if you listen to the last one, you may want to go back and listen to the prior ones, because it really tells just how close things got.
Is that on iHeartMedia or Apple? What just
literally
all the platforms?
Everything.
Yeah,
so literally, if you enter and search, you'll find it.
I'll get it. No problem.
Many platforms.
Awesome.
That's how it got to be number one in the podcast. But we dodged a bullet. There's so many things that the impeachment party tried to tear this nation apart, including Liz Warren's stunt with her question to the Supreme Court justice impugning his integrity and that of the court if there had been a 50-50 vote.
Would he vote? Was that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he reached back to, I think all the way back to the 1800s impeachment and said no. And he's not going to set the precedent because it was the Supreme, Justice in Johnson's back there said, no, we're not. That's not the role. He's not injecting himself into voting. That's not how the framers framed it. It's for the senators. And I think that this impeachment, as they have done during this process, and look back to the 90s for the Clinton impeachment, and even back 100 and some odd years ago, in the future, and whether it's 2 months from now, 2 years from now, or 20 years from now, we'll be looking back to this impeachment, and that's why when I say and other people say this process has lowered the bar, because the what they've pulled here now has set this precedence to be able to go, well, we've done this before, and it was okay, and we did this, and just on the premise of this impeachment, which was purely political, not because he actually did. At any time during this process, and think back to the House when they were doing it, and the Republicans asked those witnesses, did you witness, right now, here's your chance, you're sitting here, did you witness the president do anything wrong? Nobody said a word. Did you see any crime committed? Nobody could say a word. Did you even hear him threaten or leverage? No. Nobody can point to either of the two things needed. One is the actual crime, and second is an actual victim. Most wrongdoings have a victim, don't they, Richard? Right? In order to have a crime and a wrongdoing, somebody has to be a victim here. There's no victim. There's no crime. So this has been purely a political impeachment, which has lowered the bar for this, which means now that when you don't like the guy and you don't like his policies and you know you can't beat him in the ballot box, just impeach him.
And the bottom line to me is, while there are those on our side who say that when we get our chance, we have to do it to them.
Yeah,
no,
I don't agree.
Wrong.
That's just that's
wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to do it to you now. What the heck does that accomplish? And I hope that the party can be bigger than that and not that petty. And look, we've already, I think, have established, if we look back in a snapshot of this, right, the Republican Party, which is supposed to be, right, according to the Democrats and these progressives and liberals, is supposed to be the party of intolerance. Yet all I see from the right is tolerance. I see diverse candidates. I see diverse people at the rallies. I don't see us. Look at that. Have you seen this ad that the GOP put out? And I'm telling you that this thing, the GOP and Trump should run this from now until November. And it's CNN, and it's Don Lemon and a couple chuckleheads on there. And they flash to Hillary Clinton, calling us deplorables, and they're talking and making fun of people who support Trump, that we're ignorant, that we're stupid, that we're smelly, and saying, book learning and all that. And then doing it in the Southern accent, too. So to our brethren in the southern portion of this country, you should be a little offended, too. As if you have a Southern accent, your IQ drops 15 points. It is so insulting. And if you haven't seen it, I've shared it on my Twitter account. I've shared it on the Facebook page. Go check this out. Don Lemon is literally in tears laughing at, I don't even know who the other guy is with the glasses.
Rick Wilson.
Is it that? It's Rick Wilson. It's so disgusting, people.
Republican consultant. Joe, do you know where that started from?
Where
Pompeo was being peppered by a journalist, and about Ukraine.
Right.
And then he asked her, because a map was nearby, do you know where Ukraine is? She didn't know.
And they tried to make fun of...
so what the Lemon and group were
with
doing,
the K and
they
the
were
crane.
projecting onto us their ignorance.
Exactly. And that's when he
Which is
says,
what they
oh,
do.
you could show him a map with a K and a little picture of a crane, and he still wouldn't know where Ukraine is, right? That was all coming from that. But isn't the left constantly projecting their bad doings onto us? And I didn't realize, man, we are so out of time. Gene, I know you're on the phone. I'm sorry, folks. Sorry, Richard. I totally blew that. Guys, we'll be back on the other side with Tracy Levon.
Correspondent David Culver in the Chinese capital Beijing says officials there are responding to the growing crisis by quickly building new hospitals in Wuhan, the city where the virus is believed to have originated.
After a week or so of building it, it is supposed to be taking patients starting tomorrow. Up to 1,000 patients are expected to be able to be accommodated within that facility. But then just a few days later, they're going to be opening up a second hospital that likewise started just about a week or so ago in construction. That is expected to hold another 1,600 patients.
In the Philippines, a 44-year-old Chinese man from Wuhan admitted to the hospital late last month with a fever, cough, and sore throat before he developed severe pneumonia has died. He is the first person to die of the virus outside China. In Kenya, the problem isn't the coronavirus, it's locusts. By the billions, it's being called the worst outbreak of the pests in 70 years. The UN says Kenya needs $76 million to fight the locusts. The Des Moines Register, CNN, and its polling partner have decided not to release the final installment of its presidential preference poll because it may have omitted one of the candidates hoping to win the Iowa caucuses tomorrow.
The newspaper posted the announcement Saturday night at the same time the results of the highly anticipated survey were supposed to be released, saying one of the poll respondents reported earlier in the day that a candidate's name had been left off the poll. That candidate apparently was Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg. While believed to be an isolated incident, the poll administrators could not be certain. This was to be the last polling before Monday's all-important Iowa caucus begins.
Correspondent Jeff McKay, February 2nd, 1990, 30 years ago today, South Africa promised to free Nelson Mandela. I'm Christopher Cruz.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Termbusters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-800-569-5440. That's 1-800-569-5440. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Termbusters, 1-800-569-5440, or visit our website at termbusters.net. Remember, 1-800-569-5440. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required.
WACE Chicopee and WCRN Worcester.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Lavash, you're all set with your mortgage, and I assume you understand what you just signed.
A stack of papers, George?
That's right. And for future, just call this number if you need anything. And, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna need that pen back.
The mortgage process can be confusing. Looking for the right rate, the right term, and most importantly, the right place to get your mortgage. At Clinton Savings Bank, we are committed to getting the mortgage that's right for you. You may even receive up to a $750 credit off your closing costs. Plus, right now, you can lock in the rate from your pre-qualification for 90 days while you look for a home. So what are you waiting for? Definitely not this.
Oh, boy. Hi, Mrs. Lavash. How can I help? Oh, You're breaking up. Try again later.
Subject to credit approval. Offer may be withdrawn at any time. For complete details, exclusions, and credit costs and terms, call 888-744-4272. Apply at clintonsavings.com. NMLS number 422081. Member FDIC. Member DIF. Equal housing lender.
I want to tell you what Cantiani Insurance has been able to do for me and Teddy. We stopped in to see Paul Sr. and the great staff at 318 Plantation Street. They've been handling my car and business insurance for years. Teddy was making his way around the office, and they let me know. They now offer pet insurance. For a fraction of what one visit to the vet was for Teddy, they could cover him for a whole year. I know you treat your furry family members like any other family member, and as well as I do Teddy. The professional staff at Cantiani has been providing courteous service for over 40 years, with integrity and personalized service, making sure that your insurance actually protects you and your family. With 2 locations, the 318 Plantation Street in Worcester and East Douglas Insurance Agency, located at 306 Main Street in Douglas. For home, auto, business insurance, and now pet insurance, click CantianiAgency.com or call 508-791-2088. 508-791-2088.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Our topics are large and small. When you really need to know, we are the show. You want to know, it's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome back to Hour 2 of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN and our sister station AM 730 WACE. My apologies for walking into the news there, folks. Richard and I were kind of engrossed in the conversation. Again, from the Clinton Savings Bank Studios, lines are open and available at 508-871-7000. Great call so far, good topics, a lot of great points, right on target, man, with everything. Here it is, Super Bowl Sunday. And we've got, the 49ers seem to be the favorite, Cam, right? That's everybody seems to want to be going for.
Vegas has go ahead.
I was just going to say, but, Richard brings up a good point. If the 49ers win San Francisco, we're going to have to see Pelosi at a parade or prancing around. So I might be rooting for the Chiefs.
True.
Here.
Vegas actually has the Chiefs as 1-point favorites.
Do they?
Yep, 1-point favorites. So
I was wondering about that.
A 1-point favorite is still essentially a coin flip. But.
Yeah, exactly. But I meant to. I was going to ask you if you knew what Vegas had on this, but that's interesting. Always good to know. Again, folks, don't forget that the February edition of the Boston Broadside is out, and make sure that you go check it out online at broadside.com. Or give Lonnie a call at 978-352-6800 if you want to talk to him about where you can pick up a copy or get a subscription, or just go online and check it out. Nice big headline or front page, lowest unemployment in 50 years with Trump on the front. And check the back page. You'll find myself and some other area talk show hosts on there as well with little blurbs, which I didn't realize that he transcribed, and he would do that and put that on there. So that's fantastic. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And joining me in studio, Tracy Levon, who is going to run, or is running, I should say, for the seat currently occupied by James McGovern. So good morning, Tracy.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, one thing with the Super Bowl.
Yeah?
I have to speak up for the Chiefs with Steven Spagnuolo, Grafton native.
Oh, really?
And he's a defensive coordinator, so there's a large...
Another reason to go for the Chiefs.
Got to
right
go
there.
for the Chiefs.
Plus, we don't have to watch Pelosi on the parade.
Exactly.
I didn't even think of that till Richard brought it up. Fantastic. So happy Super Bowl Sunday to you. And what's the other big thing going on today, right?
Other big thing, we're definitely geared up. We're ready to go against McGovern again.
I'm talking about Punxsutawney Phil. It's Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day.
And I told Cam earlier, if he sees his shadow, it's 4 more years of attempted impeachment on Trump.
I think that's
he has 4 more years, and yeah, that's true too,
Either
right?
way.
Next impeachment starts in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just, it's crazy. But let's talk about this, and I know that we're going to go to the phones in a second at 508-871-7000, Clinton Savings Bank Studios. Tell me what is going on. This is going to be the second time around for you, and which is many people who have been successful have had to run multiple times before nailing it and getting it. And I think that has to do with chipping away at the establishment, with establishing and getting name recognition, getting your voice out there, your ideas out there. It's hard to come out of the box and say, here I am, and I'm a better choice, when you have somebody that's been in for decades and has such the power of the incumbency. And folks, it is huge power. The incumbency is huge power. And I never used to be for term limits. No. I was the guy who said, no, our system is you vote them out. But that's not the case anymore. And I see this, and I am for term limits now. We did it with the presidency, and I think we need to do it with Congress, both chambers of Congress, Senate and House. And I think that we have to do it because our founding fathers, if they had been able to conceive in any way, shape, or form that we would have career politicians who could amass the amount of power that they do, and the corruption that there is, and the money that's involved, they would have written it in. But to them, in their world, we got to remember, this was a duty. They took time. Exactly. It was a sacrifice. They, like going into the Army, they said, I will leave my fields, I'll leave my law practice, I'll leave my store, whatever it is they did. And of course, it was a lot more difficult to get to D.C. in those days, right? Because it was a trek and it took days or weeks. But they would do their duty, and then they would go back to whatever it is that they did.
They were citizen statesmen.
That was it. They couldn't conceive what we have today. And if they could have, I think if they even thought for a second that we would have Adam Schiffs of the world, Joe Biden, 38 years, right? 8 years as vice president. Liz, all these people now running for president, elect president, and they'll do these great things. What the heck are you talking about? You've been here for generations.
Exactly.
Why do you have to be president for these great ideas?
And you know what? I keep telling people that on that same line, whether you like a president or not, they're there at the max 8 years. Mm-hmm. Half the country did not support Obama. Half the country did not support Bush. Half the country did not support Clinton. It's 8 years. They're in and out. Yeah. These guys have been around 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm hoping we're waking up to it, because they just keep pointing the finger at POTUS instead of pointing the fingers at themselves.
And to point their finger at this POTUS, who has never ran for an office before, never held an office before, was totally in the private sector for decades and decades, and was so sought after, respected before he ran for president. He was an international Playboy billionaire that everybody wanted their picture with, and he did tons of things. Let's not forget, he got the Ellis Island Award. He got recognition for all of the work he did for urban centers and black youth in New York. He solved so many problems. Did he have failures? Absolutely. Show me a real successful businessman who hasn't had failures. Right. So it's just ridiculous that they pointed him like any of this could possibly be his fault, when he is the guy that actually did sentencing reform and worked on criminal reform. He actually made transparent prescription costs and lowered prescription drugs. He finally got the USMCA, phase 1 of the China deal. The wall is being built. Look at what happened the day after USMCA was signed. The Mexican military has taken up position telling Ecuador and other countries from South America, you will not use Mexico as a corridor to enter America illegally. They have the illegal crossings have dropped. Pasadena, these places are saying, yes, crime, the wall has gone up, crime has dropped 90% in our community. He's actually doing these things. Income has risen, unemployment record low, and absolutely the lowest since record keeping for women, black, and Latinos. This, if it was any other president, they would be talking about this. And another little thing, and I'm not saying, oh, Donald Trump did this specifically or intentionally, but in the last 4 years, did you know life expectancy has actually risen again? Under the Obama administration, it was falling. Our life expectancy was falling. People actually want to live now longer. and opioid death has dropped under this administration.
Except for here in Massachusetts.
Yeah, that right. That is nationwide. Massachusetts is, but for some reason, when I talk to my law enforcement friends and contacts, they talk to me and they say, you know, you may not realize this, but places like Quincy are part of an incredible network of, you know, a pipeline that comes up, and it comes right up through Massachusetts, and Quincy seems to be a hub of the illegal opioid trade. And this is another thing. President Trump will also start holding China accountable for the fentanyl and the illegal drugs coming in from China, which I think has been part of their plan to pump it into America to get us messed up. I really do.
It's working.
It's working. So I'm in studio with Tracy Lavon, who is candidate for, and what do they call that seat that he sits in now?
The 2nd congressional seat, and he's the House Rules Committee chair.
All right, and 2nd congressional seat in the House Rules Committee, and you know, he got up and you know, talked during the impeachment trials and bashed Trump and so forth. But I've also been at private house parties where he's done that. And he's got up and bashed.
That's his MO. It's just bashing and bashing. It's division. It's hate. It's divisiveness. There's no unity. He did try in his messaging last year for his campaign messaging on his ads on the radio. He tried to talk a talk of, you know, bipartisanship and going down and doing things right. But you know what? It's straight out lies. Yeah. He's going to have 24 years on the record of a 95% voting record with siding with one party. Enough's enough. You know, not one thing he has told us in the last 3 years since Trump has been elected, not one thing has been true. Yeah. You know, you could just name one after the next. And the one that makes me so angry and so sad is what he did after Maria with Puerto Rico, and how he made it seem like President Trump hated Puerto Rico, wasn't giving them a fair deal, wasn't giving them assistance. And more we're like, no, we are giving him assistance, and we tried to share the real message. He took advantage of that population, got them very angry at POTUS. And now it's all coming out. We all know it. We've seen all the supplies in the warehouses, the water left on the runway,
oh my goodness,
the corruption in Puerto Rico.
And he got all that static for saying these things. And look, and as far as Ukraine goes, right, Tracy, he's had for 2+ years in his administration, like they know he's been saying, I want to check these out. I don't want to send billions of dollars to corrupt nations. It's not like Ukraine, this was a new thing. And they remember one of the questions that they put up was, if it's multiple reasons for him doing this, 54% personal and 40, I mean, it was an asinine question anyway, because you're United States senators. I mean, Justice Roberts is talking to them like they're children, like they can't even follow instructions. And it was embarrassing, really, to watch the Senate.
Everything's embarrassing.
But the thing about that is, look, sometimes something that might be of benefit to you might line up with the right thing. And that's just good. It doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right.
But the point is, he, as President of the United States, had every reason, and I argue, an obligation to ask what went on in 2016 and 2014 and 2012 with you people. Because we look back and Obama put in the corruption task force in Ukraine and loaded it with Clinton and Obama operatives, and billions of dollars go missing. The ambassador was squelching investigations and stopping people in Ukraine trying to pass information to the DOJ here about corruption there. And it of course it merited that kind of conversation. And the fact that Joe Biden has the delusions that he could be president in 2020, that's his problem. I don't think Trump for a moment considers Joe Biden a threat.
I can't imagine that.
And I said earlier,
can't
Tracy,
imagine
I
that.
would pay, even if he wasn't candidate, I'd pay ticket and go to an arena to watch Biden and Trump debate. That would be entertaining. If Joe knew where he was,
I kind of think it would be sad. I would be just sad
you're
for Joe.
entertaining. But 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Tracy LaVaughn, who is a candidate for the 2nd congressional seat here, that's the Worcester seat, held 20-plus years by James McGovern. How's your family with this? I'm looking at your Facebook page. You've got a handsome family. They're all on board?
You know what? Everybody's all in. I might have been dragging my feet a little bit, and it wasn't because we weren't all in. I was honestly trying to talk myself out of it, and I couldn't.
Yeah. And the boys weren't like, "Oh, Mom, are you doing this again?" They
are more on board this time than they were last time. They've seen what's happening in the last 3 years. I think they were surprised that we did as well as we did do last time, and they can hold their head high about that. Yeah. We're very proud of the campaign we ran last time. We're excited to do it again, and I think more than ever, we have to do it again. We're driven.
Before I go to the phone, you're on the ballot already, or how does that work? Do you need signatures?
Signatures, the papers come out February 11th, and then hitting the ground and trying to get the signatures. They need to be turned in around May, and then we'll get on the ballot.
All right, so folks, Tracy's going to need your support, your help. She does have the website, which is tracyforcongress.com. She's on Twitter at Tracy, and that's the number for Congress, right? So Tracy for Congress, or you can call her campaign at 774-293-8472. I will put all this information on the Joe Manji radio show Facebook page and our site as well. 508-871-7000 from the from the Clinton Savings Bank studios. Let's go to Worcester. And Mark, thank you for holding. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the show. And Tracy LaVaughn is on too. Mark, good morning.
Yeah, I have maybe Tracy.
Yes, sir.
You're running against Jim McGovern.
Yes, we are.
I'd like to maybe make a suggestion.
All righty.
You could be a point of emphasis on your campaign. I read that Amazon Robotics has just opened, or is going to open, a new facility in the city or in the town of Westboro. Have you heard about that?
Yes. Yeah, it's at the old AstraZeneca site.
You should emphasize that as long as Jim McGovern has a lockdown, with his machine within central Massachusetts, you're never going to see large companies, because he's so business unfriendly, and he has a record of being business unfriendly. And believe me, these large companies are well aware of that. The management of these large companies are very aware of that, and they're never going to locate any large facilities like Amazon or a New Balance assembly plant, et cetera, within his jurisdiction. And that the proof is in the pudding, none of them have. So I would emphasize that you are business friendly. You want these big companies to locate inside Worcester or in the towns directly surrounding the Worcester area, which he controls. Get him out of office, and you will see central Massachusetts boom.
Well, you need to help me with that, okay?
These kids coming out of high school will have entry-level jobs, good paying jobs, instead of flipping hamburgers in restaurants and other baseball parks and stuff like that. Get him out of there, and you'll see this area boom. Have a good one, Tracy, and you got my vote.
All right, thank you so much, and get the word out there. You know that we need all the help we can get. All hands on deck.
There you go, Mark. Thank you very much. And that's true, folks. Tracy can't do it by herself. She can't do it with just the family. Even if you look, I'm going back to the fact that the power of the incumbency is overwhelming, and that's why I've come to the position now that we not only am I okay with term limits on Congress, but I think it's a necessity. I think it's something that we absolutely need to put in, but you're asking, the wolves
to cut off their own heads,
to put up barbed wire fencing around the hen house type of thing. Look, they're not
ridiculous.
going to do this. So, there is a process to do it that we can get the majority of the states, and I won't get into those details, and we can do that on a show. But there is a movement out there that's set up for that, and I think that we have to start paying attention to that, and that's where the people have to take the power back.
If you go to my website, one of the issues is term limits, and there's a lot of good information that you're talking about on my positions page with term limits, the history of it, what's currently going on. But you're right. The fact is that we have to say enough is enough. 20, 30, 40 years in office, multimillionaires, so much power, so much resources. It's overwhelming. We do have an opportunity to make change, but we have to make it happen, and we have to say enough is enough.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we're talking with Tracy LeBron, who is running for the 2nd congressional seat, which is basically the Worcester seat. The funny thing is, 20-some years ago, when Peter Blute held that seat and Jim McGovern was running for it, I was actually at the Marlboro station, and I did the midday talk show. And so I was, I think, if not one of the first radio guys to interview Jim McGovern. And he showed up with McGovern, right? The presidential McGovern
George
guy.
McGovern.
George McGovern, who was alive. And I was... honestly, I was more focused on him, right? I was like, oh my God, it's George McGovern, because I was a little kid when he so that was a big thing for me, and as a young guy, to have George McGovern in the studio, and I didn't even know who Jim was really, right? But I think he was an aide at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah, he worked with Moakley as an aide. He's been in politics his whole life, his whole career through college. Has never really held a private sector job. Going back then.
How many of them have?
When he was first elected, the districts were redistricted just in 2010. Yeah. So when he was first elected, the district went from Worcester out to Fall River. Yeah. Now the district goes from Worcester out to Northampton, Greenfield, Athol, Orange, down to Millville. It's really the bulk of central Massachusetts.
And he even says
Western
this.
Mass.
I've been at places and functions where he even has said this, is that he has sat here and the district keeps changing, and without him moving or anything, he'll probably at some point represent everybody in the state, because they just keep moving the district around. I mean, of course, that's called gerrymandering, which is actually named after a Massachusetts politician,
right,
who created this concept of change the districts around to benefit the income. Yeah, it looks like a salamander. Right. All right, 508-871-7000. Gene, thank you for waiting and being patient. And I know I saw that you clicked off for some reason. I think that was an automatic drop. And, it was your fault? Oh, I'm sorry. So Cam's taking the blame for that, Gene, but
yeah,
you called back.
Yeah, that was my fault. Sorry, Gene.
Sorry, Gene, but there you go. Good morning. You're on with Tracy LeVon.
I accept your apology. It can happen. But I will call right back, and it won't be me that's doing it, Tracy, okay? You were on a station, Tracy, that I called the other day, and I'll just tell you something, because they went off the air. I was coming back from friends. It was staticky, and it wasn't on WCRN. And I got in the house, and I have to do several things, and yada, yada, and it still wasn't on. And then the next day, it still wasn't on. You want to talk about an old fart having a heart attack? Tracy, it was like, what an unbelievable station. And I called their Carter Broadcasting and said, what's going on today? Now, realistically, it could be something that really happened, and it found out it was with Verizon. But something? It could be also that they are so unbelievable, Tracy. You're getting a message out there that's antithetical to the world and what's going on in the world today, and it is like gold. You have arrived at a station that's worth gold. So I want to commend you, first of all, for being a woman, for having guts, for taking a stand, for going and challenging for what's right. You're going to have to do both. You're going to have to do the nice part. You're going to have to do the tough part. And that's something, that's totally biblical, by the way. And I'm going to tell you about a book that was on, because yesterday, Joe, I couldn't get on. You were so unbelievably packed. Okay.
Yeah, yesterday was crazy.
I got 5 things on, though. Gary Goldman, let me do it. It was absolutely fantastic. I've got to do something for him. Oh, my God. But this David Kerpelian, the snapping of the American mind, healing a nation broken by lawless government with a godless culture. Read the book. I'm getting the book. That's what's going on today. He hit the nail on the head. May you be encouraged. I will pray for you, Tracy. Praise Jesus, and thank you for what you're doing. Competition makes America great. Amen.
Amen.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gene. That was one heck of a speech. I got to give it to you. Wow. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Question for Tracy. Are you good? Oh, okay. You're well all set. Anyway, we got to take a break here at 29 minutes after the hour on the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Clinton Savings Bank Studios. Tracy Lavon in studio with us. Lines open and available at 508-871-7000. Don't forget you can text us at 617-297-8388 or send your message to textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. We'll be back in a moment. Have you heard of the hottest new bakery around? I know you heard about it right here. My friend Al has opened Nothing Bundt Cake in the White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. Nothing Bundt Cake is a bakery chain and is locally owned and operated by my friend Al. They have bundt cakes ranging from bite-sized to tiered, plus platters, candles, and cards. Stop by and check them out. Everything is baked from scratch and on site. Nothing beats a sweet surprise. And until you try one of Al's bundt cakes, you haven't tried a real bundt cake. Stop by and ask for Al. Tell him Joe told you to stop by. 98 Boston Turnpike, White City Plaza near Planet Fitness, Shrewsbury. And on Facebook as well, Nothing Bundt Cake, Shrewsbury. Good morning and welcome to Case Files from the LPDAM, where we take a look at the lessons from actual cases, the law behind the findings, and where we share the experiences of experts of the Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts. Joining us this week is Sean Burke. He is the current president of LPDAM and resident manager of Courtside Investigations. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Joe.
Thanks for being here. This is fantastic. We've been talking about this, putting this together for a long time, but here we are, Case Files from the LPDAM. Obviously, Sean, the logical question is, what is LPDAM?
Joe, that's a great question. The LPDAM stands for the Licensed Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts. We're a network of professional licensed and bonded investigators that are current on the standards and practices within the private detective industry. What I think is really important to your listeners, Joe, is in Massachusetts, to be able to do an investigation on any third party, you need an actual license that is issued by the Massachusetts State Police. And the State Police, on a yearly basis, vet each individual licensee. What's important to note, Joe, is LPDM member businesses operate in all 351 cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth. This is important because we're a non-reciprocal state. So you have to have a license in Massachusetts to be able to do work here. When your listeners see the LPDM logo, they should expect that they're hiring a professional, a business that is bound by ethical standards and has the ability to get the results as well as the credibility to testify in a court proceeding.
Well, Sean, you know what? I got caught up in the part where you said the credibility. How does that play into the information and being able to use it and not having it hearsay or dismissed?
Well, Joe, what I often share with my clients is that what you and I know to be true is not always true in a courtroom. And this is very important when you're trying to get an argument or a defense or your position to be heard. And when somebody can testify, a disinterested third party who's done an investigation, who is a professional, can testify to specific facts based on their findings, that is going to help somebody get what they're looking for. In essence, to get positive results. Otherwise, you may be spending your money not efficiently. This gives you ability to get a positive outcome.
So before we have to wrap up, when you contact the association, Sean, are you going to help that person find the right investigator? Is there a tool for that? Do you direct them to the appropriate person, or how do they go about finding the investigator?
Another great question, Joe, because the association is an information source. We are offering information in providing to our members the ability for the public to go through our website, lpdm.org. More than 50% of the active professional investigators in Massachusetts, the licensees, are members of our organization. So this is allowing the public the opportunity to be able to know that this individual business is approved by us and that they're a member.
Well, I think it's very important that one of the takeaways that we have from this debut show of Case Files from the LPDAM is that if they're a member of the Licensed Private Detective Association of Massachusetts, that their license is current, it's active, they've been vetted, they're bonded, and they are actually engaged in the business, and they just don't simply hold a license.
Yes, that's correct. Your listeners will have the opportunity to be able to know what product that they're going to receive by going to the lpdm.org website.
Well, that's fantastic. So every week or so, you're going to come by. We're going to have interesting case facts, some great information for the listeners. And at any time, they can go to lpdam.org.
Yes, and I would encourage that.
All right.
And I would like to thank you, Joe, for the opportunity, and your listeners for their time.
Fantastic. And thank you for joining us for Case Files from the LPDAM. Join us here each week on WCRN 830 AM and online anytime at lpdamcasefiles.com. Visit lpdam.org, and you can find LPDAM on Facebook and Twitter at PINMass, and anytime at 800-955-6274. For Sean, I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, Joe Mangiacotti here, and final segment of the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, we're also airing on AM 730 WACE in the western part of the studio. Western part of the studio. It's a heck of a studio, folks. Western part of the state, which is AM 730 WACE. Our phone lines are open and available, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And don't forget that we do have our text line, which is 617-297-8388. Just text it like you would anybody else. But if you can't text, but you have a device, then you can actually, you can just email textjoeintheradio@gmail.com. Pretty cool, huh?
Very
that
cool.
works out. And it will show up on the same screen. So give me a second as my computer's kind of frozen. So that's okay. Well, that's trying to work itself out. Because I have no idea. I can't, just so Cam knows, I can't see the call screen or anything until the computer unfreezes itself. Sometimes that just happens, right? So, Tracy LaVaughn is running for the 2nd congressional seat in Worcester, held by, was it 22 or 24 years?
This will be 24 years. The end of this term will be 24 years in office.
Oh, man. 24 years in office.
How can you
Which just reminds
have any
me
change?
that I interviewed him when he was candidate. So that's how long I've been doing this, guys. So that's crazy. Let's talk a little bit, because people can go to tracy4congress.com, and on Twitter, Tracy4Congress, if you want to follow the Twitter, and, of course, you got Facebook as well.
Yeah, definitely Facebook. You know, the likes, the shares, the telling your friends. That's how we did it last time. That's how we're doing it this time. You know, right now I do have more of an organization, but it's a 100% volunteer organization. We're all working full-time, and at the same time trying to do the best we can for our country, and we're all driven, and I'm just looking for every single one of you out there to help.
Right. Tell people, what is it that you do for your real job, normal job?
I'm a physical therapist. I have a clinic in Grafton, Evolution Physical Therapy. I used to be in kind of a corporate world with that, and traveled a lot throughout the country. I've lived a lot of places. I'm from Southern California. I grew up a little bit in Oregon. We've lived in North Carolina, Maryland, here in Massachusetts. And I really feel that's a selling point as far as getting down to Washington and being able to forge relationships with people from all over this country. Because I've lived here, I've done that. I can relate to people from different walks of life and you know, actually get work done. I'm so tired of, we have so many things we need to work on, and this was all about the campaign last year, yet nothing has happened. You know, the opioid epidemic here in Massachusetts, the bridges here in Massachusetts, and the infrastructure, you know, whatever happened to immigration? We know it's slowed down, but what about the immigration reform to make it possible to become a United States citizen without spending $25,000 and it taking 20 years? What about all the H-1Bs that are expired? And there's just so much work that needs to be done, and they're just a log jam of a mess in our Congress, and it's embarrassing.
Well, you know, I'm dealing, I don't know if you know, I got married in May. And,
I do.
Okay, so
In Grafton.
In Grafton,
And
that's
I
right.
wasn't
Grafton
there.
Well, no, it was. But
it was beautiful pictures there at the Common.
We're actually we did it a small, just hey, we're going to do this, and we put it out and said anybody that wants to come. Senator Moore did come, and we're going to do a big, like, real one as soon as. But we wanted to get the ball rolling, and so I'm dealing with immigration firsthand because it's Taiwanese, right? So dealing with, and it's expensive.
It's awful. It's cumbersome, expensive.
We had to retain an immigration lawyer, and then you've got to go through processes, and you've got to pay fees, which that's it. They're not negotiable, right? This is what you got to pay. And so this is going to be a multi-$1,000 process, and it's a marriage. I would have thought maybe it's a little easier but then they have to check the legitimacy.
Right.
Right.
And it's understood, but it's so cumbersome. But you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And so
it
how is
the right
it
way.
fair when people buck the system?
We have to put together the history of the relationship, correspondence, pictures to show the relationship, right? The social media, then the immigration wants pictures of the wedding. They even want the cards we got at the wedding, right? We have to package that. We have to give that to them. And then we're going to do interviews separated.
Would you still have to do that if we became a sanctuary state?
And yeah, I know, right? Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
Which
gosh.
isn't even a way. But the point is, I get it, and I can see why people who go through what I'm going through, so that my spouse is, not even becomes a citizen, just is allowed to be here, right, and work and so forth, is doing it the right way, and it pisses me off even more for someone who's cheating the system. So I get it.
Yep.
In talking about. And you are a good person, because if I remember correctly from last time around, you should be able to speak with some authority on whistleblowers.
Yeah. This is funny. I'm watching this, the whole impeachment fiasco, and they want to protect this whistleblower so much. And you know what? I was a whistleblower, and I was under seal for going on 5 years. I couldn't talk about the case. I worked in shadows. It was absolutely horrible because I was protected. But when that case was over, it was made common knowledge. Mm-hmm. My name was out there everywhere, and it became very difficult for me to find employment or be employed in my field anymore.
Which is what the whistleblower laws were supposed to protect you from. And folks, what we're talking about is Tracy saw a graph in corruption connected to the insurance, if I'm remembering correctly.
Medicare, Medicare fraud. It was patient abuse and taking advantage of our elderly. Basically, like I said, committing Medicare fraud, stealing our Medicare dollars from the trust fund, and abusing elderly patients.
And you couldn't stay silent. You saw this. You stepped up. And that is a whistleblower, folks. Okay, a CIA operative. Who has absolutely no firsthand knowledge, who's briefed on the situation, and clearly, you don't have to be a genius to realize this guy was briefed and a deal was made for him to get the ball rolling. But what I always say about this, Tracy, this has been an impeachment for 3 years looking for crime. And if these articles of impeachment are the worst that they could get on President Trump, that's fantastic. This is what you pulled the trigger on, which is nothing. There's no crime. There's no victim. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this is what you wasted your load on, is this as your articles of impeachment. What that says to me is you got nothing. You got nothing, right? You're Robert De Niro, right? Out of all people to say.
The sad part, though, is they're just going to keep doing it, doing it. They said they were going to do it 2.5, 3 years ago from the day
he was
inaugurated.
Representative Green said, we got to impeach him because we can't win in 2020, and we're afraid. Don't forget, Representative Green is the guy who was concerned that Guam was going to tip over if we put a base on one side of the island. I'm not kidding.
I remember.
He actually asked the question. He was concerned that the island would tip over if we put too much weight on one side of it. 508-871-7000 to talk to Tracy. Hey, I want to remind you guys that New England for Trump stores, they present the Hip Hop Patriot performing live outside the Verizon Wireless at the Donald Trump rally coming up. Joining me now online is Keith Lambert of the New England stores. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, Joe. How's it going?
It's fantastic. I'm in studio with Tracy Lavon, who is a candidate for the 2nd Worcester District against James McGovern. So she's in studio with us. Tracy, say hi to Keith Lambert.
Hi, Keith Lambert.
Hey, Tracy. How you doing?
I'm real good.
Tell him what I'm wearing.
He has got his Trump 2020 hat, camo with the flag.
With the colors on it. One of the swag I got from you there, Keith. Thank you very much. And we do have some Trump gear at the station. If somebody's interested in something, let us know. Tell us, first of all, how many stores? Are we still at 5?
We're still at 5.
All right, and 6 is on the horizon.
Yep, it's definitely on the horizon.
All right, so what's going on February 10th?
So February 10th, there's going to be a rally in Manchester at the arena, the Verizon Arena, and we're going to be set up across the street at the Conoco gas station. We're going to have a big 20 by 20 tent, and we're going to have Jeremy Harrell there, who's going to be performing live with all of his awesome songs, and we're going to have all kinds of giveaways, and we're going to have all the gear available there. We're going to make it a little party, because I'll tell you what, I was down at the New Jersey rally.
Tell us about that. First of all, folks, this is the New Jersey rally that 150,000 people tried to get tickets for, and Keith was there. Go ahead, Keith. Tell us what it looked like and what it was like there. It must have been incredible energy.
Oh, it was. So I got down there the day before, and to my understanding, there was hundreds of people in line for 2 nights. They slept overnight. It's like in line, and then the second night, we actually went down and we worked the line a little bit. There were people sleeping in, they had backpacks, sleeping bags and blankets and chairs and blow-up beds. I mean, it was crazy. They were just staying overnight. And then we got set up in the morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, and there were thousands of people already in line waiting at 7 a.m., 12 hours before the rally.
Yeah, well, that has happened on many of these, Keith, right? Because they realize that, and I went to the one in Worcester, remember, back when he was candidate Trump. And Mike and I went, and I think Gary Goldman was with us, and we got there a few hours before it was to start. And the line went from the Centrum down the street, took a turn all the way up to Main Street, right? It was incredible. We got in. But there were literally thousands of people still outside that couldn't get in because it was at capacity.
We did that. We were up in New Hampshire, his last one, and we're hoping to go, the one coming up here in February. We got there, same thing, about 6 o'clock in the morning. We were right and really close to the front. And it was, we're there 12, 14, 16 hours, but the energy is just incredible. And the people are so amazing and nice and sharing stories and sharing, holding each other's place in line. And it's just
now
happy.
Contrast that
just positive.
To Antifa or left at it, because you can go online, go to these, whether it's Prager or any of these sites, and they'll show you. And I watched this one video, Keith and Tracy. So this girl this woman, I should say, young woman, and she had a black gentleman who said he was afraid to go into the Trump rally, or even he was afraid because he didn't think he was going to. And this is speaking to what I'm talking about. And I don't know if you heard me say earlier, the Rasmussen poll that just came out, black support for Trump went from 21%, doubled. It's now 42%, which is historic and huge, by the way. And so she took him through the Trump line and telling people, hey, this is Al, he's afraid to go in. And people are saying, no problem, come in with us.
Yeah,
hugging him,
Yep,
bringing it.
Come in,
walk
join
across
us.
To the protesters across the street, and they were belligerent and swearing and yelling at the girl doing the contrast is incredible. And you don't see that with Trump supporters. I know the media tries to make it out that way, but it's just not the case, folks. So New England for Trump stores, the locations can be found on your Facebook page, which is NE for Trump. It's New England for Trump, but use the NE New England initials for Trump. And this is going to be on February 10th, Monday, a week from tomorrow. A week from tomorrow, 570 Elm Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. What is the time on this, Keith?
So, I mean, we're going to be there for 3 days set up.
No, but the actual, that's the president's coming in, right?
Yep, the rally starts at 7. They'll start letting people in at 4.
All right. Well, I think I'm probably going to take a ride up to Manchester just that you're going to hang out at the tent.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's going to be a lot of energy, and it's going to be real exciting.
And it's probably too late to get the credential. I had credentials for the Trump before he was president. And that was the rally, by the way, folks, right? And I'm proud of this. This is the one, and you see the clip where the heavy guy...
he doesn't need the...
Right. This is the one where Trump starts talking about food stamps, and some guy is yelling and screaming, and the police are escorting him out, and they shoot the camera, and he's a big guy, and Trump just says, wow, he didn't say anything until I started talking about cutting food stamps. It was just a classic. But nonetheless, I was at that one with Mike Wade and Gary Goldman. We all went to that one. Anyway, that's awesome. Again, the stores are all open 11 to 6, 7 days a week still? Or?
We're closed on Monday.
All right, closed on Monday.
Hey, if you're looking for another location, District 2 could use one.
Yeah, we're trying to get them in Worcester.
We're a very conservative district, and I know you'd have a lot of support out here.
Yeah, and that's the Worcester area, correct?
Yeah. He was looking in Oxford.
Yeah, we have a couple of them.
He was looking in Oxford. We even tried to hook him up with one of Mike Wade's spots building. So we'll figure it out, Keith. We'll get you in Worcester one way or the other, or at least Worcester adjacent.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah, close by, for sure.
That's it. All right, so this is a week from tomorrow, so we'll talk to you next weekend, too, as we get into it. I assume you're going to actually head up on Saturday, right? And set up.
We're going to be going up. We're going to be going up probably Sunday morning early. But
Sunday. Okay. Cool.
Definitely talk Saturday morning.
All right.
And don't forget now we have the Valentine's Day Cup.
Oh yeah, that's right. Valentine's Day.
They'll be in on Monday or Tuesday this week.
Yeah. And explain what that is.
It's a Valentine's Day Cup, and on one, it's got a picture of Trump on one side, and it says, "I wouldn't put you on the other side of the wall," and the other side. Actually, I have to look at the exact wording. It's hilarious.
It's funny though. It's a funny cup. All right, we're gonna have to get one of those. Yeah, and I think our Trump swag is very low in the prize closet here, so I might have to come visit you again.
Yeah,
people are loving this stuff.
With that. We got to get more of those rolling.
All right, Keith, thanks for checking in, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care, Joe.
All right, we'll talk to you. All right, folks, that was Keith Lambert, the proprietor of the New England Trump stores. I don't know if you know the story behind this, right? So he's in the business of this stuff. He does like when the Patriots in, he does the pop-up stores with the Super Bowl stuff, and this is his business. This is what he does. So he wanted to go back this past year when they had the New Hampshire rally, and he's not a political guy, but he supports Trump. He's been a fan of Trump going back to the art of the deal, right? Just thinks Trump
business,
is right.
Yeah.
So he couldn't find a MAGA hat, couldn't find a Trump hat to go to the rally with. And he's like, are you kidding me? Right? In very blue Massachusetts. Long story short, he talks to his friends because they all, they go to New York to the distributors, right, to the warehouses, and they said, oh, yeah, you can get that stuff. So at the next thing, he decided, excuse me, dry mouth a little bit, he decided that he was just going to do a pop-up store, right? And he did a tent and a pop-up and sold everything out that he got.
I believe
and he
it.
said, oh, okay. And so he decided to open a store for like 2 months. At that point, he says, well, it's only 3 or 4 months. Let me do this. And you know what happened? It went crazy. So he opened 5 stores in 5 weeks.
Wow.
First one in Bellingham. And then he went on to, Peabody and all these different places. All the locations are on Facebook, folks. And they're great. And the stuff is going out, and he'll do pop-up places and things like that. Like he said, he went down to New Jersey and he did that. He's going to do this in Manchester. So it just goes to show that as blue as we are, we conservatives, I hate to say right, because when you say right and left, it conjures up different things. Division.
And it's
and
not
all this
about
stuff.
division.
Right.
It's just the opposite. It's
Yeah.
about unity.
Right.
And I think that's moving forward. What we got to make sure we're living that. It's not about division. It's about unity. It's about, you go to a Trump rally, there's every different size, color, shape. There's so many different people from every background throughout this country that it really is a.
And people aren't angry.
It's America. Not at all. They're
not
happy.
angry. They're happy.
Celebrating. They're
I
celebrating their
go
country.
to the things, and I've gone to Black Lives Matter rallies to as a journalist to watch it and to talk to people, and I've gone to where Antifa's been, and there's anger. And unreasonable anger. And there are people who they're not quite sure what they're protesting, because if you ask them, they can't answer you, Tracy. What's up? Why are you upset? What do you put? I hate Trump.
Why?
Okay.
What's he done?
Right. Why? Unemployment's low, right? Stock market's great, breaking records. Countries are respecting us. They're paying their fair share. Right? What is it that you hate? Well, he's a racist. He is? Okay, why? Show me, tell me, why is he a racist? I mean, he has the Ellis Award. I mean, he's been recognized.
Right with Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali. We've all seen it. Yeah.
So we've seen these pictures. So how is he a racist again? And I think that if anything, under this administration, we've become it's the party in the Republicans are the party of inclusion. And I've said this for a long time as a self-described conservative or Lincoln Republican is if you think that I am a Washington Republican right-wing fanatic that's down there, you don't understand what a conservative is.
Right. I think it's our responsibility, though. We need to get that message out there more.
Yeah,
we need to, and we just need to keep on doing, because it's so necessary. And everything you just described, that's how I see D.C. I see D.C. as an Antifa rally. They're just angry. They're mad. They're upset. They're throwing a tantrum.
And anything that's going to upset that apple cart or affect that status quo needs to be attacked. Name calling, attack, and we need to put an end to that. We need to change that, put some positive energy back into that, and get some work done for us. And I if we have an opportunity to do that, and I want to make sure we do everything we can to make that happen. Absolutely. I talked about this a little early in the show before you were on, Tracy, and I want to just ask you: have you seen this ad that the GOP put out? And it shows a TV, and it's just playing the chuckleheads from CNN, where they're making fun of Trump, and then
Lemon.
Trump, Lemon's laughing in the middle, and they're doing the Southern accent, and they're making fun, making that Trump, if you support Trump, you're uneducated, you're a buffoon, right, and you're a simpleton, and all this stuff, and I'm like, you know what, play that every day
over and over
to November. Because, as Trump says, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you.
We got that with the basket of deplorables. Yeah. And we made that a rallying cry. Mm-hmm. I think the more they do that, and it's so weird that they cannot learn that lesson. I don't understand how they cannot learn from the past, but keep on keeping it on. We love it. It's a rallying cry to us, and we'll just take it and say, you know what? Yeah, I'm a deplorable, and I love it.
And when you say that about they don't learn, they don't learn, okay, because look at what happened. 2016, they lose, and they lose handedly, right? And instead of saying collectively as a party, we misread something here, maybe we did put probably the worst candidate up that we could have. And instead of trying to figure out how do we connect with America, how do we change our messaging? No, they punished us. They doubled down. And
even at those rallies, I mean, like you said, in Wildwood, there were 150,000 people showing up for that. Even in New Hampshire, the stadium, well, not stadium, the Coliseum area was just packed. There were twice as many people outside as the people that were inside. They're not there. I can't speak for everybody, but in my opinion, we're not necessarily just there for Trump. We're there for our country. We're there to support the positive, that optimistic America celebration.
You got it.
And yeah, to be laughed at like that, and for them just to mock us and to make it sound that everybody at that rally is just evil.
Yeah.
You know what?
Ignorant and evil.
It's terrible.
And simple, and they try to project that we're the angry ones. Folks, this is we've been with Tracy Lavon for the last hour here. I want to remind you that you can check her website out at tracyforcongress.com, on Twitter at Tracy4Congress. You can call her at 774-293-8472. Tracy, thank you for coming in.
Definitely
Don't be a stranger.
Facebook.
Yep. Go to Facebook. Come back anytime.
Thanks
Keep
so
us
much.
posted on what's happening. And,
Keep on keeping on.
And we'll be there. And our listeners, I'm sure many people listening right now will be happy to be there anytime for you. All right, folks, happy Super Bowl. Enjoy it. And of course, Groundhog Day. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. We'll be back. I'll be back Thursday on Jerry Doherty's show, Making Money Last.
This is Sean Burke, president of the Licensed Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts, asking you to visit us at lpdam.org when you think you need a private investigator. Don't let your emotions negatively affect your future. Get your answers through a Massachusetts licensed private investigator. Get the facts without risking your credibility by unknowingly committing a criminal offense. You need a license to perform investigations in Massachusetts. What are some types of work that requires a license? Any type of surveillance, interviewing someone for a third party, background and asset checks are just a